Hi, I'm Diane Ducey with Stevie Broadcasting here in Urbana, Illinois. Our studios are over by the Meijer, and if you're ever in the neighborhood, we love taking people on tours and explaining more insight to our studios. Kind of a unique way to explain my career today instead of being in person due to COVID-19 and all of that and all the adjustments we're making. So thank you for being here. As far as my job, I'm on ESPN 93.5 in the morning between 7 and 9 a.m. with Stevie J. And then I hop across the hallway and play country music on US 105.9 between 9 and 2. I do a lot of commercial voice work also and copywriting and producing those commercials and meeting with clients and making sure everybody's happy. If we want to add some sound effects and all kinds of things you can do these days in our studios, that's fun. And the editing and producing of all those types of things, public service announcements and getting the word out about community events is one of my favorite parts of the job. And you'll hear those commercials on Q96, our top 40 station in our cluster. And then in the corner of the building, we have Christian FM 95.3. So there's 4 stations represented here, and we get out in the community, as I mentioned, a lot and support all these local businesses that have been having kind of a tough go at it. And that takes a lot of good interpersonal skills, not only, when you're meeting with clients and people in the community and leaders and getting to the root of news stories and things like that. So that's something we're looking for when we interview for various jobs here. And that's mainly what it's all about is, are you ready to get this type of job in broadcasting? So when I think about my own story and how I started out, I think about when I was an 8th grader, and my English teacher really made those words come alive when she was reading Tom Sawyer and some of the classics, walking up and down the hall while we were, in our desks. And most people would kind of doze off or put their head down, but I was always captivated because she'd have a deep voice for some of the villains. And some of the little kids would be voiced like this, and she really just made the words come alive. So I thought about, using my voice, and I thought about cartoon characters and doing some voiceover work. I certainly got involved in the various theatrical productions in my home in Tolono. If the church was doing something, I'd volunteer to read the Bible in front of everybody. I was a singer also. My mom was the organist at St. Patrick's Church in Tolono and for over 40 years. So she sang the soprano parts, I sang the alto and tenor parts if needed, and was always harmonizing with her, and had started really when I was 7 years old. Another kind of thing that is a throwback for me that helped me along the way was my mom's involvement in Girl Scouts as our scout leader. And, I'd tag along with her, and she'd always thank everybody for coming, and she'd mention any places that were hosting our event or any sponsors that were involved that gave us some free stuff to give out to people who were coming or prizes. And I'm like, this is fun. And I'm doing that for a living. So I do that, 30 times a year on the weekends and things like that with various walks and fundraisers and things like that. And you just kind of need somebody who's that MC or announcer who's kind of the glue and can keep the thing rolling and entertaining. And if you're thinking, I love to get up in front of people, and I've auditioned for various talent shows, and I love doing that sort of thing, you might be the person we're looking for to talk on the radio, which would be awesome. I've done some TV work stuff too. I know I went to Eastern Illinois University, and at WEIU FM and the TV station, had a great time learning about journalism and being involved in the community and doing these kind of on-air shifts. So if you're thinking you might be good at this sort of thing, start now. So, I think about Taylor Swift and her start when she was 15 years old and how she was just doing, audition tapes and, YouTube videos and things like that. And her mother was very proactive in stopping by different radio stations and getting her audition tape out there. And you could do that too. There's so many tools and resources that you could start getting your skills established now. I went to school with a couple of other radio broadcasters in this area. Stevie J is a Unity graduate, so is Brian Barnhart. And when I talk about Brian being a great announcer and the voice of the Illini, and then he went on to do some work out in California, calling some baseball games for the Angels and things like that. He started at Unity also, getting involved, keeping the stats for various teams. He turned down the audio of various games when he was younger and do play-by-play and describe the game, and really made the visual aspect come out through an audio medium, and it's just really something he's terrific at. So if you're thinking, oh, I could practice and do that sort of thing, I'm interested in sports, maybe you could start to do that and get some notes off to the side and really seize those types of opportunities. If there is a talent show or anything that you could audition for, go for it. Perhaps you have someone in your life that you really respect who's a celebrity. Write them a letter and say, how did you get your start? It's amazing how personal you can get with people these days, even though they seem like big stars. They're human, and they had a start too, somewhere. So keep that in mind. If you want to really make the money and make a go of this type of career, it's great that you have your social life, but you got to learn to balance, and you got to be on time, if not early. You got to be dedicated in this type of profession, because people depend on turning on their radio and hearing me every day. And I'm just like part of the family. I'm a friend, and that's part of it. Sometimes I'm working holidays. Sometimes I'm, working late. If there's a situation where there's a storm or an emergency, I'm on the air, and I have to keep my cool. And if I went out the day before and I'm hungover, forget it. All bets are off. I'm going to lose that job and lose career opportunities. So keep that in mind along the way too. Yeah, it's fun to do that sort of thing, but what's the payout? Or what are some of the repercussions of some of the choices that you're making as a youngster these days? So when it comes to pay, not so much in broadcasting, especially when you're starting out. I was just $1,000 a month, and if you've got, I lived in a rental home that my parents had, so I was pretty much rent-free or kind of excused for a few years, and it worked out great for me, so I could start putting some aside for when I did have to pay $700 to $1,000 a month on rent, not to mention the car payments and, the gas and the groceries and all the things that come along with being an adult. So keep that in mind too. You can start at the bare minimum, but the better you get at your career, the more you're going to make, the more promotions. And that adds in broadcasting how you can do sales and get a little commission check, a little piece of that profit pie, and start to write your own raise. So if you're motivated in that kind of way. And there's so many ways you can reach out and have people's logos on the website and all the digital things and the social media posts along the way and get that sponsored and ways to make money. And you can be real super creative about that. That's one of the things I love the most about being in broadcasting is the creativity and the freedom and the flexibility. I'm a mother of 3 kids, and I, hardly ever missed an event because I could pre-record things or balance my time so that I could be there when they were performing on stage or on a gym floor dancing or something like that. So, and that brings me to a thought about my youngest son, Aiden. He's a senior at Unity now, but he has some disabilities and some learning challenges. And so I play to his skill set, which is his love for animals. I know that he's not going to be an accountant. I know that he's not going to be reading things because he's really challenged with all of that. But I started with the Champaign County Humane Society and finding out about their pet pal program, and you could get involved in that too. Now, if some veterinarian or dog groomer along the way is looking for someone who has handled animals in the past in a setting that's beyond our home, because we have animals at our house, this was a great opportunity for him to volunteer and get involved and learn that I do love dogs, and I love walking them and feeding them, and I don't mind cleaning up after them. And this is something where I'm going to direct him towards those kind of skills later in life, and hopefully he can make a paycheck out of being with animals. And they don't care if your reading or writing skills are down. So keep that in mind too. What do I love doing? And if it's being with animals like my son Aiden or whatever, if you're great at drawing, keep doodling. Maybe you'll have a comic strip along the way, something like that. So play to what you love to do, and it makes it a joy to come to work every day, no matter what you're making and no matter what you're doing. You'll just skip to work every day and love what you do. So again, I'm Diane Ducey. You can always reach out. It's Diane, Diane .Ducey at sjbroadcasting.com. And our website is steviejay.com if you want to send me a note that way. And I'd love to get more personal with you in this radio broadcasting career here in Urbana, Illinois. Thanks for being here and listening to me. Have a good one.